Welcome to Tales from the Fandom, a podcast that brings a special guest out of the multiverse and straight to you. And now your host, David Ginsburg.
Welcome to Tales from the Fandom, a podcast that brings a special guest out of the multiverse and straight to you. Today's guest is returning Trent. Trent is from California. He once was on this podcast a few weeks ago in his debut episode, which garnered multiple downloads, the most that I had seen in a weekly release thus far, as we record this episode on Thursday, September 1st. And I've brought Trent back because I was looking for a guest who could cover the CW superhero shows, including the Supergirl episode or season that is going to be moved over to the CW, as well as Netflix's Marvel shows that are happening, including Luke Cage, which is debuting in 2 days. And Trent willingly volunteered to come back as we work with time zone issues with him being in California and me being in Florida. And Trent, thank you so much for taking the time out again to come back.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny you mentioned multiverse because that's what we planned on getting into today with DC as far as.
Absolutely. I mean, with DC, you've got somebody that's messed with the multiverse on more than one occasion at this point.
That's right.
But we'll definitely get to him. Let's start off first with the show that started it all, Arrow.
Yes.
Now, Arrow was a show I had heard about for probably 2 years, and then I got into it. Were you an early adopter when it first aired, or did you get into it after it came out, maybe the first season or so?
Oh, absolutely. I was on board right from the first promo or when they first announced there'd be a Green Arrow TV show. I was astounded, like they were ready to jump right back into the superhero verse after Smallville. I think about 4 years passed after Smallville ended, and we already had a Green Arrow on that show. So I was
Right?
like, oh, they're giving us another one 4 years later. So I thought that was pretty cool. So just to see where we started and to see where we're at now is just astounding.
Absolutely. Like I said, I jumped in. I didn't jump in on the third season. I jumped in when that was airing by going back and watching the first 2 seasons, and I really enjoyed it. I mean, it's darker than, say, like its counterpart, The Flash, at this point.
Mhm.
But I really love the team that's on it, as far as Oliver Queen and Diggle, Felicity. I really enjoy that group of characters, and I think the highlight for me was when I watched that first episode and he's like, I've been on an island for 5 years. I totally bought into that. I was like, oh man, he's been on this island for 5 years and he's got all this training. And then when they slowly started revealing, well, here's what happened on the island. Oh, and he's also been off the island. It kind of just it blew my mind at that point.
Yeah, same here. Yeah, it was the same thing with Smallville, because you bought into, he's been on the island for a while, and then he came back to society, and he's still his cocky self, but here he's been through a lot worse stuff than he was on Smallville. He left the island. He he had to kill people. He had to do a lot of things he never thought he would have to do to survive. It's it's a reflection of what he's made of, I think.
Now, who's your favorite character on that show?
Oh man. I'll tell you who it used to be. It used to be Felicity Smoke
Okay.
before season 4, I think for obvious reasons. And then now it went to, well, first and foremost, my favorite characters usually I'm boring. I like the main characters,
Mm-hmm.
Oliver Queen, because Stephen Amell, he just, oh my God, he just kills it every week. I think, and he's had so many episodes where he's been through the highs of the highs and lows of the lows of the lows. So,
Right.
but besides him, I'd say Black Canary really stole the season for me. For season
Now, are we talking Sarah or Laurel?
Laurel.
Okay.
Yeah, she was, man. If you look at where she started and where she ended up, it's wow. That arc of Black Canary just took my breath away. I was like, oh, Black Canary. No.
Yeah, it was sad. I remember because I'm still not caught up on the current season, season 4
hmm
of Arrow, season 2 of Flash. I'm working my way through them, but I remember friends of mine were not very happy with what happened with Laurel.
Yeah, I won't give anything away. It's just, it's heartbreaking. That's all I'll say.
I think I've got two favorite characters. I mean, I like Felicity, but I really like Thea
Yes.
because her character progression. I mean, you were talking about Laurel,
hmm
and it's almost like on that flip side of the coin, you have Thea because Thea, total like party girl, teenager, rebellious, doesn't want to listen, and she transforms from that into like bar owner, club owner,
Yeah.
but still doing the whole socialite thing, and then turns into basically like she goes by Speedy, right?
Yes, she goes by her comic book namesake. Is well, I guess it's funny because that's what Oliver's been calling her this whole time without
Mm-hmm.
her actually being a superhero. So now
Right.
it had the name applied to her as a superhero.
Yeah. So I definitely dug Thea. I've really enjoyed seeing her grow as a character. And then the other person that I really like, and I didn't really like him to begin with, is Diggle.
Oh, really? Okay.
Because I think he really just adds that element of he's a normal guy in this world that he's kind of was in or involved in, at least with like his background, but now he's like getting in. Sometimes he's in over his head and sometimes he's fitting right in, but I really like his. He just seems to be like that stable portray like stable character of the group.
Yeah, I think a little bit of him and Felicity were kind of the audience's perspective on
Mhm.
Oliver Queen and the rest of the shenanigans that happen on the show. They kind of have the natural reaction to things. Diggle, I think, had a bit of growth. He was kind of already a superhero going in because just his military background and his all the man, his stuff with his brother. Wow, that was heartbreaking in itself. But yeah, I always dug Diggle, but he always was in the middle for me. He was never bad, but he never like outshined anybody in my eyes.
Right. And then there's the last person I just want to mention, like an honorable mention, is Captain Lance or Detective Lance,
Yes.
because the stuff that he has gone through, his character, and the ups and downs, and having to overcome so much and still keep like a good solid head on his shoulders, or as much as he
Yeah.
can. Like, I don't know how one man could do as much as he does, but like he's got some inner willpower.
Yeah, wow. I never been well, I don't really know too many people who are like say alcoholics or
Hmm.
addicts. So, uh it, it looked like from an outsider's perspective, this is what alcoholic's life would be if they were a cop on the force or someone who lost their daughter. Yeah, it was just heartbreaking to watch his all his moments and then to see his growth and his trust, I guess you would say, towards the Green Arrow
Hmm.
throughout the series. Just the ups and the downs between those two. Oh my gosh, that could be a show in itself.
Now, who was your favorite? I don't want to say villain, but more like opponent or uh not even like the big bad of the season, as like the Whedonverse always calls Their big bads, the bad guys in the season. Uh, is there one that stood out that you prefer over the others? Like, is there a particular season where you're like, oh, I like Slade Wilson or, um,
Yep, that that
Merlin?
that was actually what I was gonna say. Is Deathstroke was my number is still my number one villain on the show so far. Not even Ra's al Ghul has been able to dethrone Deathstroke. It's just saying a lot.
Hmm.
Because Manu Bennett, he just brought it to that role. It's they got Deathstroke down. Like, not just they didn't really get his mercenary side. Like, they didn't really involve that much into the
Hmm.
show. They mostly got just the vendetta he has when he feels like he's been wronged.
Right.
That is the hook that brought season two to still be the number one season for me.
Yeah, when I'm not a DC fan, so getting into this, I have no background, with the exception of I knew who Ra's al Ghul was, as far as related to Batman, and getting to know Slade, and what Oliver's going through that first season and the second season, and then to find out like that it's Slade that's coming after him. It that was like one of those mind blows of I can't believe that.
Yeah, yeah. Oh man, just to see, it's funny because you see in the present day his hatred, his absolute venom towards Oliver, and then you see
Hmm.
in the flashback scenes, you see, they build that trust, they build that brotherhood between each other, and it's uh, just to see, spoilers a little bit, but just to see it all fall apart towards the end.
Absolutely. And you said season two, is that your favorite season?
Absolutely.
It just everything comes together kind of like it's all it's I mean, first seasons are usually it takes time for everything to kind of get established, but that second season of the three that I've watched is real like it's really good. And they don't really waste a lot of time doing like filler episodes. It seems like every episode has a meaning to the entire story.
Exactly. And remember, this is the first season that introduced Barry Allen, so they didn't really have to worry about crossing over much this
Right,
season besides those two episodes.
right. And there is one disappointment that I have with Arrow, but it's mostly with Warner Brothers, is that I was really looking forward to seeing more of the Suicide Squad
Mhm.
in Arrow
Oh,
because
yes.
they have that whole they spend a good what season and a half or two building up Amanda Waller
Hmm.
and the Suicide Squad and having Deadshot and all this like crossover with that, and then for them to be told, okay, you can't do it anymore, right as they had like started to introduce like Harley.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's one of the heartbreaking things is I really would have loved to have seen that play out on Arrow or Arrow and Flash or Arrow and whatever subsequent shows.
Yeah, that kind of rule Warner Brothers has across like the movies and TV shows. It grinds my gears. Like, I believe they had the same thing with Deathstroke because they said we're gonna use him in a future project in the movieverse, so no more Deathstroke.
Hmm.
I'm like, oh,
Yeah, which as you know and you've posted and has stormed the internet that it appears he's going to be a Batman villain.
yes, yes. I guess they're going the Arkham Origins route with Deathstroke in the DC EU, as they call it.
Hmm.
But I guess that's fine. It's just you see how Ben Affleck puts that together. But he got everybody. He I think he broke the internet that day he revealed that.
Yeah, it's pretty much is the same thing. Like when Ryan Reynolds posted the Deadpool footage at that time and trying to get the movie off the ground, and everyone reacted, crazy, demanding that they make a movie.
Yeah, I think what's I guess a negative towards that could be said is that some Deathstroke purists they won't get him in a Teen Titans movie first.
Mm-hmm.
So that I guess that's the only knock on it. I guess you could make out of it, but at the same time, whenever Deathstroke is against Batman, only good things happen.
Okay. And you had mentioned the introduction of Barry Allen
hmm
in Arrow, and Barry is so stylistically character so different from Oliver that when I watched it, I was like, "Oh, that guy's going to be the Flash."
Yeah.
And you couldn't like I couldn't see it. I remember when the casting announcement came out that Grant Gustin was going to be Barry Allen,
hmm
and I remembered him from his run on Glee. I was like, I don't know, but again, not a DC person, so I have no idea. But when I was doing my watch of Flash season 1 and Arrow season 3, it was always okay, Arrow is going to be the super dark, depressing for the most part show. Flash is that comedy action, everybody's like super nice with each other
hmm
kind of like it's like night and day basically.
Yes, basically. Yeah, that that's I think that's a good hook for the people who don't like the dark dourness of Arrow. Uh, yeah, that's a major factor.
Now again, you're like you were I imagine you were on board with the Flash right when it came out as
Oh
well.
yes.
So of the two, because I'm just going to keep it to the two right now, and we'll keep expanding out between Flash and Arrow. Which one, if you had to watch one of the shows, which would it be?
If I had to watch one, it'd definitely be Flash. I think that's gonna be most people's answers.
Okay.
From what from things I've seen, people I've talked to, and if we're gonna base last season of Arrow compared to anything, then hands down the Flash wins.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the Flash is about Barry Allen. He becomes the signature character, the Flash, just like Oliver Queen transforms into the character, the Green Arrow. Although his journey of becoming the Green Arrow takes like 3 seasons before he actually calls himself the Green Arrow.
hmm
But the Flash, he lives in like the city right down the street, basically a couple hour train ride
hmm
from Star City, right?
That
Star City, Central City.
I believe so.
So Flash has his group of people, and they've had 2 seasons so far. And the first one had the where you're getting to know the characters. And what 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 did you like about the first season? Maybe getting us started off on that season.
Well, the first season of Flash, I think, is what I liked about Supergirl, which we'll talk about later. But the Team Flash aspect, I think what you're alluding to, um, this ragtag little group that rallies around, Barry, their chemistry together, Cisco, um, who else? Caitlin and
Hmm.
Dr. Wells, just all their chemistry with Barry. That I don't know. There was something about it that just it made you giddy just to see them all interact with each other, and yeah, I don't know. It's something you couldn't even get out of Arrow. They have their own team, but uh,
Hmm.
the camaraderie was is a different flavor. I think if you know what I'm saying.
Oh yeah, like Arrow is more of a we're a group, but we're going into battle. And with Team Flash, it's more like we're supporting Barry, but we're also supporting each other because we've each gone through like these tragedies. But like they seem more of a family, like more of a family unit. Like they're friends, and they go out to like go get coffee and do double dates and
Exactly.
all sorts of stuff. And I mean,
Some of them
you
actually
have
are family.
yeah, and like on Arrow's side, obviously they have family like between Thea and Oliver, but it's not exactly like they're doing a lot of stuff. In fact, in the third season, isn't I believe Oliver and Felicity leave, and they're like, "We're done."
Hmm.
We're gonna go play happy house couple.
Yeah. Yeah, it seemed like that third season. Well, now that I'm trying to gauge where you're at with the seasons, by the way. So I guess with that third season, yeah, it seemed like he could have just ended the series right there too.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know some people didn't really like it, but I like that season finale for season three. Well, how it ended, because
Right.
it seemed like I didn't need to look forward to season four, but I would be happy to take season four.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So we got the Flash, and a major component on the Flash, what I learned through watching and then reading, is time travel and multiverses, or not multiverses, so to speak, yet. We get there eventually, but time travel plays that key component to the point where Barry learns that he needs to go back in time,
Hmm.
and that plays into the second season, in fact, where obviously spoilers before we go even more forward. Barry does something that I think is called, like, he does a flashpoint, or
Yes.
is a storyline that's called flashpoint, maybe it's in the comics,
Yes, it is.
where his mom, who died when he was young, he went back at the end of season 2 and saved her.
Exactly. Yep. That,
Which I was reading a article today, and they said not only is that going to affect obviously the Flash TV show, but it has like rippling effects on all of the shows minus Supergirl at this point.
yeah, yeah. At this point, yes, I'd probably. Well, it's funny who it's you can't really figure out who to believe in these things sometimes because Stephen Amell has come out and said Uh, Flashpoint, yes, it's happened in the universe, but it doesn't really affect much of what's happened in Arrow, what's going to happen in Arrow. So I don't know. I think it's more of a Flash and Supergirl thing at this point because they're gonna have to explain why Supergirl's hanging out with the Green Arrow and the Legends of Tomorrow all of a sudden,
Mm-hmm.
because she's already gotten to hang out with the Flash, but
Right.
he had to go into her universe to do it. So
Absolutely. I know that they were talking about, or at least I read one theory out there that Flashpoint is going to somehow bring that universe into theirs, into like the CW verse, basically.
hmm
I can't see it happening the way that they, like, whoever the author that was writing about it happens, but I mean, there's going to be some kind of connection because with the planned four story or four show crossover, um, I'm interested to see how that plays out.
yeah, I cannot wait for that crossover. I think Stephen Amell has been hyping us all up just by posting all four main stars,
Hmm.
just their legs from their costumes on set,
Right.
saying they're just filming. That's all he said in the caption. Just oh man, it's such a mind racing and your heart a flutter just seeing this come together. Let's see, when did Arrow come out? 2012. Let's see, 4 years ago. Who would have thought we'd be here? Who would have thought?
Absolutely. It's the same thing with like, just throwing it out there, like the Marvel movies. Who would have ever thought, with all the Marvel movies we had in the past between Spider-Man or X-Men, the Hulk, that it would have been built up to a Marvel Cinematic Universe that's planned out for the next, 7 or 8 years of what movies are coming out.
Exactly, exactly.
And this is the small scale version of that with DC characters, where you're really getting a lot of great stories displayed where you would never have thought in years that we would have gotten stuff like this on TV.
Yeah, I am a little kid again.
So with the Flash, I imagine Barry Allen number one. Do you have another favorite character?
Cisco, hands down.
Cisco.
I I think he's a lot of people's favorites. Uh,
I like that he names all the bad guys, and he takes that very seriously.
well, Cisco is pretty much us. He is a nerd. He knows pop culture like no other in that world. So I think that's why most of the fans of the very show love him because they're him.
And not only that, he's got some of the same shirts that I own. He wears on the show.
Exactly. Yeah, me too.
It's like, oh, I got that shirt from like Think Geek, and I saw that shirt on like T Fury or T Villain, and it's just nice to see like those pop culture shirts that he wears. It's like, yeah,
Yeah, it's
I gotcha.
he is us, and he loves Star Wars like I do, and I love him for it.
Now, who's been your favorite rogue out of the Flash's rogues gallery?
Oh, hmm. Oh man, you put me on the spot here. uh, there's been a lot of good ones. But I think the number one for me, and I'm thinking a lot of people will be the Reverse Flash.
Okay.
Um, because wow, the things he does just because he hates the Flash.
Mm-hmm.
No other reason, no other legit reason. Just because he hates the Flash, the things he does to Barry, I'm like, why, man? You didn't have to do that. You didn't have to do that. You just went out of your way to be a jerk. Why?
Absolutely. I mean, you could have worked with him, train him and work with him.
Yes, Y- that's another thing. You've been like a father to the kid, and then you stab him in the back like that. Like I don't know, but it made that hatred I had that built up for me is probably why he's probably my favorite.
I liked Leonard Snart.
Oh
He,
yes.
I mean, I know he's on Legends of
Hmm.
Tomorrow, but like the way that he is as a villain, and he's very straightforward on some of the episodes that he's on. He's like, I'll do this, but you gotta do this for me.
Yes, he is a very highly intelligent villain. I think I haven't I haven't read a lot of Flash comics, but from what I've been told and from what I've seen in interviews, Captain Cold is a very intelligent villain. He
Hmm.
he he's very honorable. I think we've gotten a lot of that on both shows, Legends of Tomorrow and The Flash. Um, and he may be rough around the edges, but he's he's just a he just wants his cut at the end of the day, and but he doesn't want to take a life. Um, it's an
Right.
interesting villain role there, I think.
Definitely. Now, I was going to say, with Flash season 2 having finished with Flashpoint, we're going to have significant changes on the Flash TV show.
Yes.
I mean, I saw some pictures today with, like, obviously Barry Allen's mom is alive,
Hmm.
and Barry and Iris holding hands,
And but are
being
you
together.
are you caught up on season 2, by the way?
I'm not, but I spoil myself.
Because yeah, there's something else with his dad too, but I wasn't gonna reveal something that.
Well, I'll just have to wait on that then.
Yeah. Okay.
But so then so we had Arrow, we had Flash, and then we had this show come out. I think was it a mid-season pickup? Because I don't think it was a full
Yeah.
like 22
Yeah,
episodes.
it was mid-season. They got I think 16 episodes.
And they brought in Legends of Tomorrow, which had characters from Arrow and Flash plus a few others.
Hmm.
And I've not watched this show. I kind of know the makeup. There's Sarah from Green Arrow or from Arrow is like the White Canary
Yep.
now. Ray Palmer from again Arrow is Adam,
Hmm.
and then Captain Cold, Leonard Snart is over there, and I isn't his partner not Fire
Yeah, Heat Wave.
the Heatwave is over there too. Plus Firestorm
Yep. And
is there, and
there's
then I know Hawk Girl's in it.
yep, and Hawkman.
So let's run down that show because since I don't know much about it, what's the storyline with that show going on?
Okay, here's a quick rundown. A time traveler named Rip Hunter. He's much like a Doctor Who type of character. He comes back to our time. He's from the future, I believe 100 years, I think. Um, and he needs people to help stop Vandal Savage, who you haven't gotten there yet. um, yeah, you'll see Vandal Savage when you get to him in season two of Flash and in season four of
Okay.
Arrow. They have a crossover to help build Legends, but yeah, they need to stop Vandal Savage. Vandal Savage, of course, is, for people who don't know, he's an immortal type of villain. Also a warlord. So yeah, combine that with time travel, you have a great show.
Okay.
Yeah, and yeah, Rip Hunter is a very important character because the show revolves around him and Vandal Savage basically. But the superheroes are kind of just learning how. At first, they're kind of thrown through a loop of all the time travel stuff. Eventually, they
Hmm.
get used to it. It's awesome. They cross paths with other heroes from different times, such as Jonah Hex. So that's
Okay.
awesome. For people who don't know, Jonah Hex he's basically a super badass cowboy from the 1800s that's had a great comic book run and a bad movie.
Didn't Constantine show up in that show too?
He showed up in Arrow.
Oh, okay.
You haven't gotten there yet. He'll be in Arrow
Okay.
when you get there.
Now, how did they go about pulling the people for the Legends team? Just out of curiosity, because they seem so different.
Um,
Like this isn't like Justice League or Avengers where they've got this group but they're all kind of good in for the most part. I mean, you've got some villains straight up on that team.
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy, right? Um, that's a big factor of the show. How do we deal with two villains? Eventually they get used to them, but growing pains, of course.
Hmm.
But the Atom and Black Canary, I'm not Black Canary, Canary at that point in the show. They both kind of where we leave them off in I think was it season four of Arrow. They're kind of in limbo with what they want to do with their lives.
Okay.
So that is perfect for them. And let's see who else. Firestorm. Um, one half wanted to go, the other didn't. I'll let you figure out who.
Right.
Um, and let's see, the Hawks. The Hawks are, I think, they're most directly connected to Vandal Savage.
Okay.
You'll see why. And yeah, that'll be on the Flash Arrow crossover for season four of Arrow and season two of Flash. But
Okay.
who else am I leaving? Yeah, the villains. I forget exactly how they're looped into this, but it's funny. It's all funny.
Now, how like I remember when I was watching Flash and Arrow, some of the crossovers that they did, especially with Arrow showing up on Flash, there was one point where they did a crossover and it's like Oliver Queen was supposed to have been like Ra's al Ghul at the time, but he showed up in his Green Arrow outfit, and it didn't really like the timing didn't come together as I thought it should have.
Yeah, that was weird.
And I was like, aren't you supposed to be like the race character right now or acting like kind of like a dick? But like for him to show up and then like the crossovers I think have been mostly successful from what I've seen.
Mhm.
How did it all work with Legends as far as the three shows?
I think it worked. There's a couple of hiccups, especially with Felicity with her. I think that's a testament to the type of character she becomes in season four of Arrow. Is just
Okay.
uh, don't get your hopes up with Felicity.
Okay.
Yeah, but in terms of the superheroes themselves, it's pretty cool. Just see Hawk Girl coming to her own and seeing Hawkman be Hawkman. It's just
Right.
like, oh, I'm a kid, my superheroes, oh. And Flash, being Flash. A lot of time travel, time travel, time travel, time travel. Can't stress
Hmm.
enough time travel this season.
If you don't mind your eyes being crossed a lot, time travel.
Yes, basically.
And then CBS decided to go with Supergirl, which on further reflection when they announced it, it was like, why? Because I don't understand why they didn't just have all the shows be on the same network to begin with. I mean, it obviously allows for them to have crossovers and promotion and whatnot, but CBS, major network, go for it. I watched the first episode that I actually watched of Supergirl was the crossover,
The Flash.
because when I heard it announced with Flash coming on,
Mhm.
I was like, well, I gotta watch that. Even if I wasn't caught up on season 2 of Flash, I wanted to just see Flash. And Barry and Kara were so cute together.
Yes, they were adorable.
And then a friend of mine was like, well, I haven't watched Supergirl either. Let's try and watch like an episode a day or episode a week.
Hmm.
And we kind of dropped off, and we finished at different times, but we made it through. And that show really grew on me from the first episode, where it's
Yeah.
finding its legs,
Hmm.
but by the end of the season it was really good.
Yeah, it's see, Supergirl, it tickles me in the right in the sweet spot because I am a big Superman fan. Like I'm a big Superman Batman fan. If a lot of people are close to me, they know. Um, so I was so jacked for anything Superman related to be on
Hmm.
TV. Um, and like I didn't the show, it gets a bad rap for the overall storytelling and acting part of it because it could be viewed as cheesy, which
Hmm.
I get, but if you could get past that, there's a great story in there, um,
Right.
and that's what I think why I stuck around, because not only is it's a cute show, but it also involves a lot of comic book elements like that are right from the comics. They're not afraid to use a lot of comic book stuff that uh, Smallville was. uh,
Right.
but yeah, the crossover. Is, uh, well, do you want to talk about the crossover right now, or do you? Because
Sure,
I
yeah, we
have
can
some
talk about the
thoughts
cross.
on
Yeah,
it.
let's go. Yeah.
I'll tell you what I liked about it. I'll tell you what I didn't like. I liked that. Flash and the Supergirl, they had great chemistry. Um, they were absolutely adorable. I can't wait to see them again in the future.
Hmm.
But other than that, the episode, the actual crossover aspect, the when it came to fighting the villains, it just kind of petered out for me.
Right. It did. It wasn't a strong, like, it didn't have that oomph that it needed.
Yeah,
It was really like just kind of weak on that front.
yeah, it kind of broke my heart because Supergirl had so many satisfying endings, and that wasn't one of them.
Right.
Um, yeah, but I tell you what, the strongest part of Supergirl for me is the Martian Manhunter. Um,
Yes, I went in not. I know like the main Justice League people.
hmm
I'm not blind to that. I've seen some of it,
hmm
but for them to have that character, and I was emailing my friend because we'd always email after every episode and say like, okay, this is our thoughts on each episode. And on one of my emails, I said, there's something up with Hank, and I'm like, I don't know if he's good or if he's bad, but there's something up with him. And she was ahead of me, and she's like, oh, you just gotta wait, you just gotta wait. And then to see him be revealed as John Jones, Martian Manhunter, I was like, oh my gosh, like, amazing.
Yeah, I was like, oh, what? The great debate before that reveal was: is he Martian Manhunter or is he Hank, like like cyborg Superman,
Right.
because that's who Henshaw has been in comic history. So that was a great shock for those of us who were expecting one thing, and then it turns out to be a completely different thing. Um, yeah, because Martian Manhunter, I think he had a good. You watched Smallville, right?
No, I
You
didn't.
didn't?
I did
Oh,
not.
okay. Well, he was on Smallville, Martian Manhunter, um, but we didn't really get to see him in his alien form.
Mm-hmm.
And that's another thing I praise Supergirl for is they are not afraid to use the comic book elements. Um, because in Smallville, he was mostly in his human form. Um,
Right.
and I think we only saw a brief glimpse of him for a second in his alien form on Smallville. This, I think, he's about 50% of the time he's Martian.
Right. And not only that, there's some things with Supergirl that I do not like, and a lot of it relates to the action sequences with like the fighting
Hmm.
that Kara does as Supergirl. But the thing that they got right is whether they're using prosthetics or CGI or a combination of both, they really nail his look.
Yeah, yeah, and it's my favorite
Like it,
look
it
too.
doesn't it doesn't look cheesy. It doesn't look like like from something throwing to like Power Rangers or something. It doesn't look like a man in a suit type of outfit. It's spot on, well done, movie grade as far as having him be a Martian.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would disagree with us there, but yeah, I agree with you there. And I think that's a testament because they actually use the suit itself, and then they CG the skin and everything on
Hmm.
top of it. But yeah, I think that's why it works so well, because they're able to use practical effects mixed with special effects.
Now, one of the topics we covered on your previous episode, just to relate it to what I'm going to ask you a question of, is your experience cosplaying. You're a black guy and you cosplay as white characters like Batman or Red Ranger, as we talked about.
Yep.
What was your reaction to having Jimmy Olsen, or James Olsen as he's referred to on Supergirl, being black?
Oh, okay, yeah, that I was okay with. I was like, yeah, okay. Well, I guess that's the time we live in. And yeah, back then, 1938, all pretty much every single side character was white.
Hmm.
But now we live in a day and age where that's not always going to be the case. Um,
Right. And I mean, just like whenever it comes to the territory of like comic books and them changing characters, there's always been a major issue. I remember when they had the Daredevil movie with Kingpin being Michael Clark Duncan.
yeah.
Oh, the outrage over that,
Oh,
or
I
having
remember.
Johnny Storm in the new Fantastic Four movie
Hmm.
uh, being black, or like the evolution of having these characters that existed in the comics, and now they're being into the mainstream, just like the newest revelation or announcement that Zendaya is possibly playing Mary Jane in the new Spider-Man movie.
Yeah, at the time of this
It's
recording.
at the time of this recording, like there's total nerd outrage,
Yeah,
and like to me it's crazy, and I've talked to a lot of friends about it. It's like if the character is who the character's supposed to be, it shouldn't matter what the character looks like.
I agree. I think for me, the race is second thought to me.
Hmm.
I think the portrayal of the character and I think size means more to me than race. That's one thing that's weird with me with Jimmy is he is just taller than everybody.
Right.
Even Superman, if you've seen the set photos for season two. That's my only gripe with Jimmy. But other than that, he's man, Makad Brooks, he's doing his thing. He's killing it as Jimmy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, before we wrap up on the DC side, as far as Supergirl goes, are you a Supergirl fan? Are you Martian Manhunter? Do you like Jimmy or Win or uh, Catco?
I think
Cat.
I think at first I was really big on Supergirl. Like
Hmm.
I thought she was probably she's what I look for in a woman. I like quirky women. I like
Right.
because they I'm very quirky. I'm a quirky guy, so I feel like we were a good match in that area. But then when Martian Manhunter came around, I was like, "Yep, Martian Manhunter. Yeah, sorry, Martian Manhunter is number one for me, hands down."
Awesome. So we have four shows now from the DC universe. They're on the same network finally. CBS switched over Supergirl to the CW, and we're getting a major crossover between the four shows. And we're having I believe I heard it's a musical, like Flash and Supergirl
Yeah,
episode.
yeah, that.
So, what do you want, or what are you hoping for these seasons coming up? What would you like to see amongst the four shows?
Well, if in my perfect world, Justice League, hands down. Um, you got Superman now. You may not have Wonder Woman or Batman, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they're crucial right now in the CW verse. Because you got everybody else almost.
Right.
Um, yeah, I say go all in, but that's up to the writers, of course. I think Jeff Johns is still, despite his promotion in the DC universe, I think he still has a lot of say what happens in the TV side of things. So,
Okay.
and I trust Jeff Johns with my life, uh, because he hasn't really disappointed me in anything he's produced, or oversaw. Um, and I think I think we have great things to look forward to as far as these superheroes coming together.
Okay. And now we go to the flip side of the coin. We switch from DC over to Marvel, and specifically, we're going to just talk about their Netflix shows.
Yep.
And as as we record this, we're in September 1st, and this episode is planned to come out a few days before the debuting season drops of Luke Cage season 1.
Hmm.
So, were you I remember when they made the announcement years back that Netflix was going to do Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, and then do the miniseries The Defenders. And I was like, that's pretty cool, if they line it up the way that they're going to line it up, and that'll be a really awesome run. And I don't think that they expected the popularity of Daredevil.
I don't know, man, because they kind of put everything into Daredevil, like that, more so than you would see even in the CW shows.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think there was a time there when it was just air was it I think it was just Arrow and Daredevil on at the time, Daredevil
Right.
season 1 and Arrow, and people were like, "Yep, Daredevil, number one superhero TV show, better than Arrow." I'm like, "Oh, okay, they're kind of different things, but okay."
Well, definitely different things, and I think with it being on Netflix, they have obviously they're like an HBO almost, where they're allowed to show a lot more
Hmm.
than what you have on, say, like the CW, like the channels that air on network TV. But I remember when Daredevil came out, and how incredibly tight, because obviously it's only the 13 episodes,
Hmm.
but that again, there's no wasted storytelling in that. There's no downtime. It's not like a filler episode. Everything is moving forward, and at times it's moving forward so fast that you're like, let me pause it and catch a breath.
Yeah, I don't think I ever paused, but yeah, it was breathtaking. Absolutely.
Now, I know you're a DC guy. Are you a Marvel guy.
Absolutely, man. I
Okay.
may not be as versed in Marvel, but I absolutely love I loved Marvel since I was a little boy. I I I came up in the era where Fox Kids was hot and heavy, and
Mm-hmm.
you had Power Rangers, Batman, and Spider-Man,
The
X-Men on,
the X-Men. Yep.
and Iron Man, Hulk, Fantastic Four, all that. I loved it all.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we got Daredevil on Netflix. The show is amazing. Obviously, it has the Kingpin as the main villain.
Mhm.
Did you like him?
Oh my God, this is probably my favorite depiction of the Kingpin I've seen in anything, hands down. Vincent D'Onofrio, yes, use him for everything.
He was he was in like I remember watching obviously Daredevil the movie with Michael Clark Duncan, and he's got that size of the imposing
Yes,
size. But with Vincent D'Onofrio, he has like he doesn't have like he's got that size, but he's got that charisma like behind him so much.
he is very, very methodical. Like everything he does, everything he says has a point. It may not
Mm.
make sense at first, but when it does, man, it hits you like a ton of bricks. Literally.
It's just like him getting that painting, that white painting with like the little flecks
Hmm.
on it, and it's like what it like that one thing is it's the one thing that I always just am amazed about is like how he just stares so intently at that, and he plays such a dual character where I'm going to fix Hell's Kitchen, I'm going to clean it up, and then like just for that revelation as it unspools of like who he is and what he's doing is and then with the gang fights and everything going on, it's just incredible. Like I remember watching it and being like, how can this be done in only 13 episodes?
Yeah, I agree. That's what makes a great villain is a villain believes what he is doing is right, even though
Mhm.
society believes it to be, you know, villainous. So, and they don't care. They don't care. The ends more than justify the means with them, and that's what the Kingpin uh, gave us this season.
Oh yeah. And then you got great characters. I think the one thing that I was sad about is that they killed off the journalist.
Oh man, that
Uh,
broke my heart.
I can't, it's killing me that I don't remember his name off the top of my head.
Oh
He's
yeah,
such a major character, and I'm actually going to look it up right now
yeah.
because I feel bad leaving
I
him
was
out.
gonna actually look it up too. Ben
Ben
Urich.
Urich, yes, it
Yeah.
like because he's so integral in the Marvel universe, at least in the comics. I mean, with Spider-Man and Daredevil,
Mhm.
and obviously we're in that universe. Just to see him, you know, dead.
The
I was.
the thing was, it was so heartbreaking because he came from uh doing puff pieces. Well, when he originally got into journalism, he was doing the hard stuff, But then
Yep.
in his older time, the longer his career went on, they made him do puff pieces because that time had come and gone. But then when Daredevil came around, he changed everything. And then Claire, not Claire, but uh, Karen, when Karen
Hmm.
got involved with him, um, it reinvigorated that spark he once had, and he was scratching and clawing, trying to get the truth out there, and then just to see, his life be taken from him before we really got to spend quality time with him was sad. It's like losing a relative, really.
Hmm. Definitely. And we get some of these wonderful characters as they're portrayed now with Eldon Henson as Foggy Nelson, who in the Daredevil comics, Foggy is kind of older than Matt Murdock.
Hmm.
They're contemporaries. They work together. I really love Eldon Henson playing Foggy Nelson.
I do too. I loved him. I know a lot of people weren't really sold on him in season one, but then came around with season two. But I was sold on him in season one. He kind of was a reflection of the common guy, even though he's a lawyer.
Hmm.
And he's also kind of the voice of the audience watching from the outside looking in.
Yep.
And that's, I think, what made me appreciate Foggy from Jump Street. Yeah.
And so when they announced the shows on Netflix, the one name that stood out to me, and it was the next Netflix show that came out, was Jessica Jones, because not a lot of people know who Jessica Jones is.
Even me.
She's
I did both.
she's yeah, she's not a mainstream character. Um, I learned about her when they actually started publishing her comic back in the late '90s, I think,
Hmm.
with the Pulse, where she had her own comic book, and then she and Luke Cage got together in that comic, and she transitioned as a supporting character to like when he was in the Avengers and their relationship and subsequent like them having a kid and everything, but like that was I almost thought it was a big risk on Netflix's part to have her specifically, but you watch that series, and if I was choosing between Daredevil season 1 and Jessica Jones season 1, it'd be Jessica Jones.
Oh, interesting. I don't know if I could choose because one is a superhero show, the other is a rape survival story, and a very good one.
Mhm.
um, but with superhero elements, obviously. But yeah, Jessica Jones. I never like. I think I played the Marvel Ultimate Alliance game. I think that was my first introduction to Jessica Jones.
Okay.
And then I already knew about Luke Cage before that, but I didn't know they had a connection because they only shown like in the mainstream stuff Luke Cage and Iron Fist together. But
Right.
yeah, Jessica Jones was a mystery to me until you know recently. So um, the show itself, that's my strongest connection to her because I didn't really know her beforehand.
Well, what'd you think of the show?
I absolutely loved it. I thought it was on par with Daredevil. It the rape survival story. What I mean, not necessarily. Well, I guess it exactly is that because she was mind controlled and then
Mhm.
forced to do things she didn't want to do. Um, and yeah, and then after the fact, trying to help other people uh, who gone through the same thing with the same man. And I don't know. It's just and it was not just women too. It was men, lots of men, and
Yep.
it it was just astounding to see that that aspect thrown into it with men and women being rape survivalists. I guess uh, in terms of controlling the mind.
Mhm. Absolutely. Do you, of the characters, I mean, there's Jessica Jones as opposed to Daredevil has it. I mean, Jessica's the main character. She's got a lot of like, I guess I'd call them side characters.
Hmm.
Do you prefer just Jessica? Is there a person that stands out, like maybe Patsy?
Yeah, uh,
Any of the others?
probably Patsy and Malcolm. I know Malcolm. He was kind of a one note character in the beginning, but
Mm-hmm.
he. I also give him a lot of love because he is also a former Power Ranger. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, Patsy was cool because she knew exactly how Jessica was feeling and knew exactly how she reacted to things, and she was very much the best friend in all this. And Malcolm, he became a very dependable assistant towards Jessica in the end. So
Right.
yeah, it's kind of hard for me to pick between the two of those actually.
Yeah, it's interesting because Patsy in the Marvel universe is also a superhero,
So I've heard.
and and a lot of people are wondering, when we get Jessica Jones season 2, is she going to transform into like a version of that character perhaps, or were they just throwing out like subtle hints about it, but are they going to actually go through with it or not?
Yeah. I don't know. I wouldn't. I'd never say never. Because this show has been giving us like all the goodness we could ever ask for. I guess out of a comic book property, even one that's not too familiar with people.
Mm-hmm. And what did you think about Luke Cage and his involvement in Jessica
I
Jones?
wanted more. I wanted more Luke. We didn't get enough Luke.
Absolutely.
uh,
I loved how he was brought into the show and how it evolved with him in it. Like he didn't overshadow Jessica Jones and what was going on with her, which I really enjoyed.
mhm,
And I liked how they presented their relationship. And then even at the end where they brought in Claire from Daredevil, the
mhm,
night nurse,
mhm.
um, I really enjoyed that storyline, the arc with Luke in it.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned Claire because it's like I'm sensing a little chemistry between Claire and Luke now. Like, what is happening? Like, I thought she was, but yeah, like Luke's involvement in this show was absolutely on point as far as execution. So
Hmm.
I that which makes me it's like so that much more excited for his show.
And so we had Jessica Jones, which was phenomenal.
Hmm.
Um, and then because of how well Daredevil did, they put in Daredevil season two,
Mm,
and so we got Daredevil season two with not only Elektra and the Punisher
yeah.
and more of like the backstory of what could potentially be leading towards the Defenders mini series or mini show that they're doing with the four characters total with Stick and all of that going on.
Yep.
And then with the surprise of Kingpin showing back up,
Hmm.
I mean they kind of crammed. I would make the pun that they crammed all of Hell's Kitchen and its kitchen sink into that show.
And they still managed not to overshadow Daredevil, which was amazing.
Right. And not only did they not overshadow Daredevil, I mean, granted, Punisher Frank Castle, he was definitely like one of those highlights.
Hmm.
But to see the extra time spent on Karen, who, I mean, I had some problems with her just becoming like this journalist character that she became through the story arc, like and getting Ben Urich's
Oh,
office.
really?
Like I was like, you're just walking into a newsroom, and now they're going to give you this office, and I had issues with that, but
Huh.
her growth, along with Foggy Nelson being like, especially the scene in the hospital
Hmm.
where he's there, he's talking to Claire. The gang members start trying to fight with each other, and he's just he just lays it all out there.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, I think Foggy and Claire, or Karen, I mean, they had probably probably the most growth this season. I think Daredevil probably was the same. Um, but yeah, Foggy and Karen, they kind of came into their own. They proved they didn't need Matt Murdock to, you know,
Hmm.
save them or to stand by to make themselves, look better. Because I think that was the big factor this season. Because Matt, he couldn't be where he was supposed to be, and they had to step up in his place.
Not only that, I remember one of my friends made a joke, and she was joking that if you need a lawyer, you're not going to call Matt Murdock, you're going to call Foggy Nelson,
Yeah, exactly.
because he just wasn't his lawyery self at that, like in this season. And a part of that was the inclusion of having Elektra.
Yep. Um,
Did you like Elektra? I mean, are you familiar with Elektra
I'm
or the
kind of
background?
familiar with Elektra, just from what she's been in as far as mainstream stuff.
Hmm.
The first movie and some of the games.
Right.
But I thought she was okay. Not great. I just thought they did it on purpose, but I didn't necessarily like that Matt was easily swayed by her.
Yeah, that seemed sometimes it seemed almost out of place. Like, really? Like you've done all this stuff, but yet you're going to take those like two steps backwards.
Yeah. And then she learned stuff, and then she took those two steps
Oh,
backwards.
oh yeah.
Yeah. I guess we'll learn more.
Oh, definitely. And on the flip side of having Elektra, you have this great storyline with Frank Castle, the Punisher.
Yes.
I remember when they announced that they were going to have the Punisher in it, I was kind of iffy because the Punisher is one of those characters that has never been done well in any form, either the movies that have come out, him being in cartoon shows where like he's shown up. He's always done well in the comic book form.
Oh yeah.
And to see him translated really like he was really well done with Netflix. I think part of it is because you're not having network restrictions on what you can and can't show with him.
Hmm.
And it was really good with him.
Yeah, I knew going in Bernthal would kill it because I thought he was great on The Walking Dead.
Hmm.
All they had to do was pretty much make him Shane from The Walking
Right.
Dead, and they were golden. But yeah, he all his stuff, just the you're just a half measure. I'm the what was it? What was that line he said? You're just a half measure. I don't remember, but he was the real deal of what you should have as a vigilante.
Right.
But we don't want to admit it.
Yep.
And yeah, his arc in here as far as him being an insane person. He's just I think that was pretty spot on from what I haven't read a Punisher comic admittedly, but from what I hear, that's one aspect they got right hands down, and it sold the Punisher for a lot of people. Is just
Yep.
his absolute insanity in what he believes.
Definitely. And with the show Daredevil season 2 wrapping, a lot of people wanted or asked or called for Punisher to get his own show.
Hmm.
And lo and behold, Netflix is delivering an eventual Punisher show that they hadn't really, back in their original plans. It was just going to be one season of Daredevil, one season of Jessica Jones, one season of Luke Cage, one season of Iron Fist, and then they do the Defenders. And now they're adding in a Punisher
I know
with
that's just
with the extra seasons of these other shows.
hmm That's just a testament to how good John Barenthal is, and just how great the writer, how much great material the writers had for him.
So as we record, we've got and before this episode comes out, we're going to be hitting right before Luke Cage comes out.
Hmm.
Have you seen the Luke Cage trailer?
I have. I also saw the a little behind the scenes about the music that'll be involved with the show and the episode titles.
What do you think?
I am in love. I think this will be probably my favorite show that has a stellar soundtrack
Mm-hmm.
all through the entire season. Because a lot of the artists that they mentioned, I grew up with. So, for example, Wu Tang and Tribe Called Quest. They did like a whole video package showcasing them producing the episodes with the thought of the music and the culture involved, and I
Absolutely.
thought that was very cool, and it was all New York people too. So they kept it within that city. So um, I thought that was just a very, very special aspect of the show we got to look forward to, um, as far as music is. But the show, I'm looking for that trailer, him just walking into I don't know, a gang hideout and just like cleaning house. I was like,
Hmm.
yep, that's Luke Cage.
Not only that, there's that. I think it might be the same thing or different, where he pulls off that car door,
Hmm.
and he just goes into the building using that as a shield, and it's like, yeah,
Hmm. And then it's it's one of those I don't know if you played the or it it's one of those aspects like with Batman, like why do you keep trying to fight the guy? You know you're not gonna win.
right, exactly. Like, listen, if I'm shooting you and you're not going down, I'm running away.
I'm done. I'm out. Yeah, and you see if you see a guy's hand snap when you try to punch a face, you
Hmm.
should probably call it a day.
Oh yeah. And I do like, because I'm not familiar with who they have as like the villain in this show, but I like that scene in the trailer where the guy is talking, and behind him is that picture, and it's got the crown, and the way that it's shot, it
Oh
looks
yeah,
like the guy's wearing the crown.
he's trying to be like the king of New York or Harlem.
Harlem,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, um, yeah. It'll be interesting to see how Luke takes him down if he does. But and we all and the cool part about the Luke Cage for season one is we also get Claire Temple back,
Yep,
and
because she's that running character through all the seasons.
yeah, and we may even get a Danny Rand cameo in Jessica
That
Jones.
that's definitely high hopes. Because now you have a lot of intersection with what's going on with the characters. Like, for instance, Foggy Nelson takes a job with the law firm that Jessica Jones, friend or not friend,
Oh
lawyer Hogarth,
yeah, Hogarth.
like that's where he took the job at the end of Daredevil season 2. He went to them.
Hmm.
And that law firm is the one in the comic books anyway that represents Danny and Luke Cage and their team Heroes for Hire.
Oh, I did not know that. Oh.
So like that, now Hogarth in the comics is a male,
Hmm.
but in this obviously it's been changed. But it's these little connections. I'm really hoping, like, it'd be nice to see, like, say Foggy show up for something in Luke Cage or even Iron Fist
Yeah,
or Jessica Jones. I really hope Jessica shows up in at least, half of a Luke Cage episode.
yeah, me
It'd
too.
be nice to see her. Definitely hoping for Danny Rand. And I know that they do have another character that interacts with Luke Cage a lot in the comics, and she eventually got her own like spin-off. Misty Knight is in the Luke Cage series.
Oh, okay. I think I heard of
She
her. Yeah.
Yeah, she took over Heroes for Hire in the late or mid 2000s. She ran a team of Heroes for Hire, and that was real cool. So it'll be interesting to see how much more they add in and go from there as far as the Luke Cage season, because it seems like they can do so much, but then at the same time, how much do they want to put into that?
Y-
Like, as opposed to just having it be Luke's story.
Yeah, I think they're not going to break the tradition they have had so far as doing their own thing, but including small elements of what's going on through the whole universe.
Hmm.
But yeah, Luke's story is one I'm interested to see told in this universe. So I cannot wait.
And then after that, I believe we go right from Luke Cage. I think we're getting season 2 of Jessica Jones, maybe.
Has it been
Or
announced?
I can't remember if it's going to be Jessica Jones season 2 or Iron
I think
Fist
we're
that
getting
comes
Iron Fist first. Um, we may get
in.
Jessica Jones season two after that, but they haven't announced anything for season two on
Okay.
that yet. I don't think.
Did you see the Iron Fist first look
I
from San Diego?
I did. I did. It looked very interesting. Punch. What do you do? He punched a hole in the wall right off the bat. I think.
Hmm.
He's like, "Yep, that's Iron Fist."
What do you think about the actor that's playing him? He played
Yeah, he put on Game of
he's
Thrones.
in Game of
Yeah.
Thrones. He was the Knight of Flowers.
Yeah, I think he's a good pick. He's got the hair, he's got the physical aspect. I think that
Yep.
I think they got a good character, a good actor there on their hands.
Okay. I'm just looking up. It looks like it's Iron Fist is coming out 2017, so next year we'll get Iron
Yeah, I'm
Fist.
thinking fall next year.
And let's see if Jessica Jones season 2 is announced. Jessica Jones season 2 air date to debut. Nope, that's Stranger Things. Jessica Jones season 2 won't be until 2018. It will be after The Defenders. So it looks like it's going to be Luke Cage now
Hmm.
in September. Iron Fist will probably be in spring because they've already started filming it. And I know the Defenders has started lining up all of the contracts with the minor characters. Like Eldon Henson announced that he had signed on to be on the Defenders,
Hmm.
and so I think that's probably what they're doing now is getting like all that pre-production stuff, and then that will be out. Yeah, in 2018 or 2017, it looks like
Mm, okay.
end of 2017 maybe or early 2018. Then Punisher, Jessica Jones, Daredevil will all roll out with new seasons after that.
Huh. Okay. Yeah, that's what I thought. Um, yeah, I can't wait. What's your take on them kind of acknowledging the movies, but not really?
I'm good with it. Here's what I want.
Hmm.
I want the movies to acknowledge the TV show.
Hmm.
And they're playing in the sandbox, which when it was set up to be, yes, we're going to reflect on the what happens in the movies will be reflected in the TV shows, and on the TV show side, it should have some. There should be something, maybe a shout out, maybe some, like a little nod or wink to the TV series. I know Agents of Shield, which is on
Yeah.
ABC, it's not one of the shows that we're talking about, has the most crossover carryover with the
Yes.
movies. Um, I'd really like for there to be talk of, and again, I mean, the Marvel movies have so many characters coming into them already, especially with the Infinity
Oh
War.
yes.
I know I talked with somebody about it. They had 64, 68 named
Good
characters
God.
showing up into it. Um, and I know that Charlie Cox, who plays Daredevil, was asked if he would be showing up in it because there had been I don't know if there had been talk on the internet from somewhere that maybe the Defenders would be featured for like, just a few minutes on like if something's happening on Earth in New York or something, like they could be shown.
Right.
And he's like, well, I haven't really been contacted. And I could have sworn I read another article recently where they said, we're not really going to be doing any TV movie crossover with it. So I like that they reference like the big green guy or the stuff that's going on in the shows
Hmm.
where they do talk about it, and like I hope maybe not with Luke Cage, but maybe they mention like the Sokovia Accords because obviously they're super powered people running around New York City and they're not in check and they're not being registered.
Yes.
So I'd like there to be something mentioned of that. At the same time, I'd really like to see something mentioned, like with the upcoming Spider-Man movie.
Yes.
And if any movie was going to do it, it would be the Spider-Man movie to give that acknowledging wink or nod to the Netflix shows because they all take place in New York.
Now I've heard through the grapevine, um, Iron Fist will probably, or actually, Doctor Strange will have a connection to Iron Fist in a way, as far as the mystical aspect is.
Okay,
That's what I've heard. Can't confirm that, but
right.
we'll see because that would make sense. Um,
Yeah, there was a set report or something that Doctor Strange had shown up, or Benedict Cumberbatch had shown up on a different set to do a cameo,
really?
and I can't remember what or it might have been a different character showing up on Doctor Strange, and I can't remember which character it was that they were supposed to be interacting with.
Hmm.
I don't think it
Wong.
was. I don't think it was any of the Netflix shows,
Hmm.
but it was like it would have been is kind of cool. But it'd be nice to see with Spider-Man like a wink and a nod, like, oh, I'm in Brooklyn or wherever, or no, he's in Queens.
Hmm.
So, and that was like the joke, like, oh, haha, I got beat up by this guy in Brooklyn, and Spider-Man's in Queens, and it'd be nice to like have him kind of mention like, oh, things are going on in like Hell's Kitchen or something, but
Hmm.
kind of offhand, or even like news reports airing on like a TV or radio program while he's doing something else. That like I would love to have that.
I'd love that too.
Give us that. Give us that just to have like that little connection.
Yeah, and you just see like in a newspaper, like in the Daily Bugle, like a silhouette of Daredevil and like headline something Hell's Kitchen, blah blah blah, Daredevil, blah blah blah.
Or written by Karen Page or
Yeah,
something like.
yeah, that would be awesome, and just see it in passing or in the background. I would go giddy.
Absolutely. That would be perfect.
Mhm.
All right, let's see here. So I think we've covered all of the Netflix shows for Marvel. Because we can't really talk about Iron Fist. There's not that much going on that's out there now.
Mhm.
Um, what with Punisher? I mean, we know we've seen the character. We've gotten to know him. He's going to have his own show, and like I said, it looks like it's going to be 2018 or later for it to come out. What would you like to see in a Punisher show?
Well, see, I'm not too familiar with Punisher's history, but as far as acting and action wise and storytelling, I just want to see that same type of storytelling we got in Daredevil uh, to deal with the Punisher and whoever surrounds him. I think who do he have? Who's his? I remember from the cartoon, somebody drove the van.
Oh, I couldn't tell you.
Ah, man. Uh, man, it escapes my mind right now, but comic book fans will know. But or Marvel fans, I should say more specifically. But yeah, Punisher, I want to see the same level of violence. I want to see the same level of intensity from John Bernthal, and that skull. I want to see that skull everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Um, lots of guns, lots of guns, and maybe some cameos from the other characters from the Netflix shows.
Now, is there another like if you were pulling someone from the Marvel universe, to get a Netflix show, is there a character that you would like to see on there?
Ah, that's a good question. I think She-Hulk would make a good show. Sh-
Okay.
Um, I know it's kind of a left field type of answer, but she's a lawyer too, so it would be cool to see uh, She-Hulk randomly be an attorney on Daredevil in some aspect.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, and then just have her grow from there, and then I don't know, maybe bring Ruffalo into her show for like the first episode, and then
That would be cool.
yeah, I don't know, this is just the type of thing I just think about in my head.
Yeah.
I think it would work. Well, then I don't know because they already have two super strength heroes out there, so I don't know. Yeah, I'd have to think about that actually.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
that's something for discussion amongst everyone. I know there's been a lot of talk about different characters that people would like to see. I know, and then there's all these new shows that are popping up that aren't Netflix. Like on ABC Families, or it used to be ABC Families, called Freeform. Now they're doing Cloak and Dagger,
Oh,
or they're prepping to do Cloak and
oh,
Dagger.
I did not know that.
Yes, sir. Cloak and Dagger are going to be on Freeform, which is the same channel that airs like Pretty Little Liars
Mm,
and those kind of shows. And it's going to be obviously Cloak and Dagger are like the teenage superheroes, where Cloak has the cloak and he can transport himself through like this weird realm,
yep.
and Dagger shoots lights of like lights that kind of can pierce like daggers, and they're this pretty awesome team. Um, yeah, so they're going to be like teenagers as they are represented on that show. And then the latest announcement is that they're going to be doing a animated New Warriors cartoon show with the feature being Squirrel Girl,
Oh, I heard about that. Yeah, yeah.
which to me as a New Warriors fan, I've got all the runs. Like Squirrel Girl has never been a New Warrior,
Hmm.
but I understand where they're coming from, as if like they want to launch Squirrel Girl with like some other superheroes,
Hmm.
then that'll be something to see, like who they pull to be on that team, especially if they have to abide by not having mutants on there. They
Yeah,
kind of exclude a few of the original New Warrior characters, like Firestar and Justice,
yeah.
but you can include characters like Speedball.
Hmm.
And I can't imagine that they would allow Nova to be on there, since with Guardians of the Galaxy they had the inclusion of the Nova Corps.
That's true. Yeah. Hmm. Uh,
But it'd definitely be interesting to see where they go with it.
oh, we didn't even touch on. Well, we touched on Agents of Shield briefly, but next season, do you know who's coming?
Next season is, let's see here. Well, obviously Daisy is Quake.
Yeah.
I'm not caught up on that show at all.
Oh,
I'd actually stopped watching first season, but there was Ghost Rider
yes.
is going to be on that show, and it's not traditional
Yeah.
Ghost Rider; it's the new Ghost Rider.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not familiar with this new Ghost Rider, but anything to get him away from Nicolas Cage, I'm all for.
Absolutely. I think this Ghost Rider is coming from a more recent run of Ghost Rider. I really liked what I had read. If it's the same character that they're using, I really liked his character.
Hmm.
I'll be interested to see what they do with Ghost Rider, because they were talking about how Fitzsimmons are going to explain away with science a flaming skull head.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting because I, if you did you okay, were you one of those who gave up on Agents of Shield because they didn't it just didn't pick up in terms of like the superhero aspect, or is it just too much espionage and whatnot?
No, I just lost interest. I know I watched like I think the first 5 or 6 episodes, and after that I mean it wasn't doing it for me as far as what I wanted in a Shield show.
Right. Well,
I know that it got better. A lot of people said it got
a
better.
lot
In
better.
fact, one of my previous guests, Barbie, which I believe her episode's episode 9,
Hmm.
she loves Agent of Shield,
I do too.
and
I do
she
too.
she she can't say enough good things about it. And like I like for when I talk to people on this podcast, I really love getting to hear about stuff that I'm missing out on or that I need to catch up on. And like I really want to go back and watch Agents of Shield just to see how it evolves, especially with like Civil War, taking down, or not Civil War, Winter Soldier, the movie, taking, destroying Shield and having the Hydra elements and stuff like that.
Oh man.
But again, it's getting through that first season where it like they were kind of waiting for things to happen
Yeah.
before they could become the show that they wanted to be.
Yeah, I could understand that. It's just like once you get past that, oh my God, it's a hell of a ride, man. I'm with her. I can't say enough good things about it. I know a lot of people kind of, fell off, but just if you have time, come back. It's fun.
Well, Trent, we have talked for, it looks like, close to almost an hour and a half.
Yes.
I think we've covered everything that we can cover up until obviously Luke Cage comes out. I mean, we'll just have to keep seeing what's going on. I really appreciate you taking the time to jump back on another one with your episode that, I mean, we recorded back in June for your original episode, and it just came out end of August.
Yeah,
But I'm so happy that you could jump back on just to do this real quick, like breakdown before all these new seasons launch of Luke Cage and Arrow and all Flash and Supergirl. Like, we're getting right in beforehand, so we're like super topical on everything.
Absolutely, man. I'm happy you were gonna have this episode because I absolutely love talking about these shows. Like with anybody, like especially my friends. My friends were having like the best times watching these shows together.
Thank you for listening to Tales from the Fandom. Subscribe to us on iTunes or your podcast app of choice. Follow us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/Tales from the Fandom to see photos, links, leave feedback, and check out upcoming guests. If you'd like to be a guest, email David at talesfromthefandom@gmail.com.